Ice Radio. My name is Henrik Almgren. This is Internet Talk Radio from the west coast of Sweden. And we are available worldwide over the internet at redicecreations.com. Big thanks to Christopher Morse from creativecosmos.org for being with us last week, taking the pulse on the cosmic jugular. And if you missed that show or any other of our previous programs, just head on over to our archives at redicecreations.com and you'll find all of our programs there for you. Today we have Gary A. David with us, and we're going to talk about his book, The Orion Zone, and we'll get to some very interesting information about the Hopi Indians, the Arizona-Orion correlation, and lots more. So stay tuned and enjoy the program. Today we have Gary A. David with us on the line. He is the author of The Orion Zone, Ancient Star Cities of the American Southwest. And this is going to be a fascinating program. Gary has picked up on a lot of interesting material, I think, in his research. And I recently posted 2 excellent articles by Gary on my website, which is redicecreations.com. One of those was entitled Along the 33rd Parallel, A Global Mystery Circle, and the other one was Phoenix, Masonic Metropolis in the Valley of the Sun. And we'll certainly talk more about those later on, but I thought we could begin to talk about Gary's book, about his research, and maybe a little bit about him. So let's bring on our guest and get the show started. So welcome to Red Ice Radio, Gary, and thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Henrik. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's excellent to have you here, and I've been looking forward to this show. And to start things off here, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and when did you first start researching this kind of information, so to speak?
I've been working on this book. I worked on it for about 7 years, and I moved down from South Dakota, where I had before that time I'd been researching the Lakota Sioux. And the rituals up there, and I came down to the Southwest. I've been here about 12 years now, and back in 1997, I started to get the idea for this book. Basically, I had been going up to the Hopi Reservation, which is about a 4-hour drive from my house, and I started to attend some of the Kachina dances up in that on the reservation, and seeing some of the rituals that the Hopi were doing up there. Just an amazing ritual cycle that they have all year long, and it's a very elaborate system that they have ritually. And some of these rituals are open to the public, and so you go up to the reservation and just kind of watch these. The Kachina dances are really fascinating. They begin in the springtime and run through just after the summer solstice. They end around July. And the Kachinas, some of your listeners might be familiar with the Kachina dolls that the Hopi carve.
Yeah.
And these are representations of spirit messengers. The Hopi have hundreds and hundreds of different types of Kachinas, and they perform dances in honor of these Kachinas, and they don costumes and masks, just bizarre sorts of masks of different sorts.
They kind of look like boxes on top of each other, right?
Yeah, boxes, or some are round, or some are cylindrical, and they're brightly painted in different fashions and with different symbology. It's just amazing kind of sensory experience if you can ever get up to the reservation and see one of these dances.
Yeah,
they dance all day long under the desert sun. Basically, the dance is. It's for to bring rainfall, of course, in the desert. It's very important for growth and fertility, general fertility, and well-being of the people. So I began to to go up to the reservation and watch these dances. And I was driving in northern Arizona and to go to one of these dances, and I looked off to the north, and there are 3 primary mesas that the Hopi live on. The villages are scattered across these 3 primary mesas that are in a line. Okay, and I had just finished reading The Orion Mystery by Robert Bouval and Adrian Gilbert.
Yeah.
And, of course, your listeners probably will be familiar with the Orion correlation that they posited in that book, that the pyramids at Giza reflect the belt of Orion.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was just kind of gazing up at these 3 mesas in the distance, and I thought, well, maybe this is another Orion correlation here in Arizona. So I put that in the back of my mind, and when I got home, I got out the maps and I got out the sky charts and compared them. And what I found just astonished me. It was there was a village or ruin site that corresponded to every major star in the constellation Orion. And it was just an amazing, exact correlation between the sky and the Earth. And that set me on this journey, which lasted about 7 years. I began to go deeper and deeper into the researching the Hopi rituals and researching different cultures that were influenced by Orion. And it seems like Orion is kind of a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, it does.
There are different Orion correlations across the globe.
Interesting. So, tell us more about your book and kind of I guess your main thesis. I guess so. This all started, as you say, of course, with the Hopi, but of course you developed this theory, I guess, and did you apply it to many other cultures around the world?
Oh, sure, yeah. I wanted to start with the Hopi, and the first part of the book deals with the Hopi and the celestial rituals that they perform. In fact, the Orion correlation is one of the timers of the rituals. For instance, during the winter solstice ceremony, the Hopi perform a ritual inside a kiva, which is a subterranean prayer chamber. And there's a hatchway up above, and there's a ladder that sticks up through this hatchway. And they time this particular ritual when they see the constellation Orion overhead in the hatchway above them. So, Orion was probably the most important constellation for the Hopi, and it continues to be so, because, the Hopi are not a lost people. They're still living up on the mesas. They've been there for 1,000 years or so, and they still perform these rituals.
So, the obvious question here is, what is the connection with Orion? I mean, is there a story or a legend that residing within the Hopis too, that kind of the quote gods came from Orion, or what's the connection here?
Well, the main connection has to do with a god named Masao. Masao was the god of the underworld, the god of this earth, and the god of death. And Masao was there at the beginning when the Hopi were first making the migrations across the desert, and they would go to certain areas and establish a village and live there for a time. And then the Hopi would abandon the village and move on to another place and build another village. And Masao was more or less directing the migrations across the desert. And these migrations took many centuries to complete. So this is a long, ongoing process. Masao is an interesting figure because he's described as having very round eyes, very round, large mouth, and the head is very large and kind of bulbous, and they describe it as looking like a summer squash. Okay, kind of wrinkly on the top, and the forehead bulges out, and the feet are very long, and the body is gray. In fact, this creature, if you look at an artist's rendition of this creature, it looks very much like an extraterrestrial gray that we see in contemporary culture.
Yeah.
It's just amazing the correlation between the two figures. And in fact, the name Masao, the word mas, means gray in Hopi.
Right.
So it has something to do with death and the underworld, the spirit world.
Yeah.
But Masao basically told the Hopi where to build the villages and what pattern to build these villages in.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I think that Masao is probably the terrestrial representation of the constellation Orion. The Hopi describe Masao as being able to travel across the entire Earth before morning comes. So this might be the way of saying that the Orion is traveling across the sky, rising in the east and setting in the west before morning arrives.
We up here kind of we have our idea of how Orion looks, so to speak. We have the belt, of course, and the head and the arms and the legs and so forth. If the Hopi depicts the deity according to how the stars are laid out in a similar way, or do they do it in some other way?
Well, they call the Orion constellation Hotamkam, which means beads on a string, and this relates to the belt stars of Orion, or like beads on a string, or it's also a translation of mesas. So this idea of sky and earth is reflected again. The mesas form the belt of Orion. Like I said before, the Hopi live on 3 primary mesas. And these mesas are about 400 feet in height, and the villages are built both on top of the mesas and at the base of the mesas. During various times, the villages have been built and abandoned. But these 3 mesas have remained the kind of the center of the Hopi world, which they call Tawana Savi. It's the center of their cosmology. And the correspondence between the belt stars of Orion and these mesas are very strong. For instance, there's first, second, and third mesas, and they're separated by about 7 miles. Okay, and they go from east to west. For instance, the village of Oribe, which is the oldest continuously inhabited community on the North American continent, it was established about 1100 A.D. And the people are still living up there, and they've been up there for nearly 1,000 years. In the old world, I guess that's not doesn't seem too old, but here in the new world, it's a very old settlement.
Yeah, indeed.
And this village of Oribe corresponds